Nearly 200 countries make up our beautiful planet, with each of those nations as diverse and unique as the last. But beauty isn't the only thing that these nations offer. A handful of their cities stand out for all of the right, the wrong, or the plain old weird reasons. In some cities, you'll be forced to wear a gas mask whenever you leave the house. In others, you'll think you're seeing double. And what if we told you that there's an island more populated with dolls than actual people? There are some truly bizarre places out there, and we're about to get a first-hand tour. So let's go! Our first leg of this marvelously peculiar trip around the world lands us in the central area of China's Guangdong province. It's here that the strange city of Dongguan awaits. What's so strange about it? Well, it's not the city per se, but the people who call it home. Dongguan is known for having substantially more women than men, which has resulted in a non-monogamous culture. In other words, the men date several women at the same time, and the women encourage it because there are simply not enough boys to go around. The population disparity is around 89 men for every 100 women. The reason being that many women arrive in Dongguan to work in the thriving manufacturing industry. Apparently, the employees of the area prefer to hire reliable female workers over their male counterparts. Just to give you an idea of the local mindset, a factory worker named Li Bin said this when being interviewed by a news outlet. I have 3 girlfriends, and all of them know about each other. Many of my friends also have many girlfriends. What do you guys think of this idea? In Dongguan, the peculiarities surrounded the demographics, not the city itself. In Australia's unique town of Coober Pedy, it's all about the wacky geography. If you've ever checked out the land down under for yourself, you'll know that it can get crazy hot in the summertime, like regularly over 40 degrees Celsius. In the desolate outback, the heat only intensifies, and the residents of Coober Pedy know that better than anyone else. As a small mining town in the outback of South Australia, about halfway between Adelaide and Alice Springs, residents fly in and out to one of the world's most quirky towns. In order to escape the glaring summer heat, the town is full of what locals call dugouts, house-like structures that are built into the rock. This allows many of Coober Pedy's residents to live, sleep, shop, head to the pub, and go to church, all while entirely underground. Dugouts sell for between $50,000 and $300,000 depending on their setup, while the average above-ground home sells for around $60,000. The subterranean community has been expanding ever since opening its opal mining operation in 1916. When the Aussies are in need of a change of scenery, one of the most common nearby international destinations is the paradise island of Bali. Over 5 million tourists arrive at Bali's main airport every year, ready to soak in the sun, bask in the comparatively cheap luxury, and immerse themselves with the locals, who always have a smile on their face. Luckily for the tourists, the majority of Balinese speak some degree of English, although not the people who live in the Bengkala area, up in the jungle of northern Bali. These locals communicate in a language exclusive to their region, culture, and history, and it's called Kata Kolok. And it's not a verbal language. It's actually a type of sign language. Kata Kolok has acted as the primary mode of communication in the jungle village of Bengkala for generations. Why? Because a significant percentage of its residents are deaf. Almost 10% of the people in the village carry a recessive deafness gene, which explains why the village is sometimes dubbed Desa Kolok, translating to the deaf village. For a long time, the locals associated the high percentage of deafness with a curse. However, that's not the case. There's a scientific explanation, and that comes in the form of a geographically centric recessive gene known as DFNB3. As most of the population got their first taste of social distancing in early 2020, for 84-year-old Elsie Eiler, absolutely nothing changed. She lives in the tiny town of Manawi, Nebraska. That's right about here, smack bang in between the middle of nowhere and Timbuktu. Manawi has a population of 1. Not 1,000, not 100, just 1. And that one, Elsie Eiler. She's the town mayor, pays taxes to herself, grants her own alcohol license, and she's been the sole Manawi resident for over 14 years. Manawi housing prices are 15% lower than the national average if you're thinking of joining her. As the only person in a town, you'd expect Elsie to get awfully lonely. Thankfully, visitors are aplenty, with her pub acting as a meeting place for neighboring townspeople and those on the road.
There's trucks coming and salesmen coming and customers coming and some just coming to visit and have a cup of coffee.
Just 20 miles down the road from Manawi, you'll find the bustling Nebraskan town of Gross. Their sizable population is exactly double that of Manawi. That's right, just 2 people this time. Mary and Mike Finnegan. For 34 years and counting, the couple and their restaurant, the Nebraska Inn, have managed to keep Gross on the map. These tiny towns are charming, no doubt. As the direct inverse, Japan's Miyagi-jima is creepy, unsettling, and would work perfectly as the real-life setting for the next Stephen King novel. Coined with the nickname Gas Mask Town, it's not hard to see why. Miyagi-jima is one of Japan's Izu Islands, and because of its ominous personality, it's certainly the most famous of the bunch. The archipelago is just south of Tokyo, where it must deal with a number of constant hurdles. One, the Devil's Sea, otherwise known as the Bermuda Triangle of the Pacific, and two, active volcanoes. The entire island is a stratovolcano, ready to unleash its wrath at any moment. Because of eruptions, including one recently in the year 2000, the air is full of expelled chemicals. Chemicals which continue to seep out to this day. That's in addition to the initial damage caused by lava and ash capitulated in every direction. As a result of this volatile environment, the residents of Miyagi-jima are required to carry gas masks with them at all times. And so are the tourists. When the gas levels pass a particular threshold, the warning alarms echo around the island no matter the time of day. Despite all of this, you can actually visit it. Would you be brave enough? As we leave behind the eerie vibes of Gas Mask Town, let's head on over to the unique Santa Cruz del Islote. This island sits in Colombia's San Bernardo archipelago, in the Gulf of Morrosquillo, close to Tolu and Coviñas, and it holds the claim to fame of being one of the most jam-packed, cramped, crowded, and dense islands on the entire freaking planet. Seriously, just look at it. About 115 houses are stacked on top of one another, and an estimated 1,000 people actually live on this tiny island, which is no bigger than 2 soccer fields. You certainly wouldn't guess it was such a thriving metropolis by seeing it from afar. What could possibly make this island such a prime real estate location? There are 9 others just like it not too far away. Well, according to legend, fishermen from the nearby islands spent the night on Santa Cruz and eventually decided to stay there permanently when they realized there were no mosquitoes. That's pinned down to the fact that there are no mangroves and beaches. Is anybody else feeling a little claustrophobic just by looking at it? You know who else is feeling claustrophobic? The thousands of snakes who crawl over one another and call Ilha de Queimada Grande home. That's roughly translated in Portuguese to slash and burn fire, or big burnt island, which is intimidating in its own right. Our journey around the world until this point has focused on the strange attributes of the area or the unique characteristics of its human inhabitants. Snake Island, as we like to call it, is a little different because it has exactly 0 human residents. Its locals tend to be a little more reptilian, with slithering serpent on top of slithering serpent as far as the eye can see. There are estimated to be between 2,000 and 4,000 snakes on this island. But not just any snake, the golden lancehead pit viper, one of the most dangerous species on the planet. Feel like making a visit to this unique place anyway? Too bad, because access is completely forbidden. Unless you're a scientist with special permission, the government of Brazil has banned humankind from setting foot on this land, and we are okay with that. Time for a quick trip to Kodinhi, a place unmatched by any other, which has caused geographers and scientists to throw their textbooks out the window. Kodinhi sits in the Kerala region of India. It's a small village, home to around 2,000 families, and is famous for one very specific reason. Nope, you're not seeing double. Don't start rubbing your eyes. These 2 are twins, and these 2 are twins, and these 2 are twins, and there are over 215 additional sets of mirrored humans in this tiny town. It is truly a medical marvel. The numbers just shouldn't add up, but they do. The rate of twins born here is around 45 per 1,000 births, which is just staggering. Across the rest of India, the average is just 9 twin births for every 1,000. How is this possible, you ask? Some claim dietary factors. Others claim a lack of diversification. But at the end of the day, we just don't know. What's more alarming is that the inexplicable rate of twin births is only increasing. You'd honestly be forgiven if you accidentally thought a couple of Kodinhi babies were matching dolls. Oh hey, speaking of dolls, allow us to introduce you to the extremely peculiar and, let's be honest, just a little bit creepy world of Isla de las Muñecas, or as you might know it, the Island of the Dolls. This man-made island has one heck of a fascinating story. Until his passing, Julian Santana Barrera was the caretaker of the island and its only resident. During his time, he found a young girl and her doll in the canal. To honor her memory and appease her spirit, Barrera hung her doll up on a tree on the island. From there, he collected and hung dozens and dozens more dolls, eventually leaving the island as an eerily decorated memorial. Even though Barrera no longer lives on the island, people say the dolls now act as the area's protectors. Want to check it out for yourself? Think you can handle the spookiness? Well, then it's only a 2-hour boat ride from Mexico City. With its many waterways and bridges, the picturesque Dutch town of Giethoorn is unlike any other place in the world. Dubbed the Venice of the North, you can make your way from A to B by taking a little boat along one of its many canals. Actually, you don't have a choice. This town has no roads, so whether you like it or not, you're going to be traversing along the water. There is a narrow bike path which runs down the center of the village, but it certainly isn't wide enough to fit any cars. It's only about an hour and a half's drive from Amsterdam, or just over 2 hours by public transport. Tens of thousands of snap-happy tourists make the journey every year as a popular day trip from the nation's capital. If you want to spend the night and soak in its peaceful aura, expect to pay between $100 and $200 per night. Tourism earns the Dutch economy over 80 billion euros per year, so don't expect this charming town to disappear anytime soon. So out of every spot that we've checked out today, which would you be most excited about seeing yourself? And are there any that give you the heebie-jeebies? Let us know. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and as always, thanks so much for checking out The Richest. See you next time and have yourself a great day.